All right, hello everyone. My name is Rebecca Vanderheiden. I am the Riverbend Ag in the Classroom Coordinator here in Scott County, and we are ready for our Farm Chat Friday. I am at Seven Cities Sod, and we are going to meet our sod farmer, Keaton. Hi, Keaton.
Hi guys, how are you?
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Keaton Fry. I'm sixth generation farming the land itself, third generation running the sod farm into things. Out here in West Davenport, just off Interstate 80 by the Davenport Farm Fleet.
All right, it says our video is sideways. Does this look better? Can you guys tell me? 1 second, we're just gonna see if this works a little bit better.
We can't do anything to fix my face, so.
Okay, I think that this will be all right. Okay, so then we are at your sod farm. How many acres of sod do you guys have here at your farm?
We're running 630 acres. We got about 405 of it under irrigation for these hot summer months like we're currently experiencing. Yeah, we started off in 1967. My dad and grandfather started off with 5 acres in grass. I think corn and bean prices were kind of at an all-time low during that time, and so they were looking to kind of innovate, find something else they could possibly make a profit on. It was a 2-year process from seeding to harvest. Couldn't sell any of it. I think they were getting ready to tear it out and just start over and just kind of scratch it up to a failed plan. And the Iowa DOT or Illinois DOT, I forget which one, called, and they were putting in an overpass, bought all 5 acres of it. And they saw the profit margins on sod as opposed to row crop, and decided to gradually keep putting more and more in sod and phasing out the row crop. And now we're 100% sod, 630 acres, and it's gone through my dad and grandfather, my uncle, and now it's to me. So. Very
cool. All right, so can you tell us a little bit, what is sod?
Sod is grass, It is, your turf on your lawn. There's multiple different kinds of varieties of turf. The most prevalent here in the Midwest is Kentucky bluegrass or tall fescue. We don't have any tall fescue. It's not something that you see a lot of here on this eastern half of the state, western part of Illinois. 95% of everything you see here is all Kentucky bluegrass. 100% of what we harvest and sell is Kentucky bluegrass. We do ours, we buy kind of an elite seed blend. We do a 4-way blend in our seed that gets combined, gets mixed to form what we would like to think is a kind of a super seed, right? Each blend of Kentucky bluegrass seed that we're mixing in to create that one blend brings a different quality to the table. One of the cultivars might be for drought resistance, some might be for disease resistance, water retention, whatever it may be. We're adding each of our 4 cultivars together to hopefully be able to combat anything that Mother Nature might throw at it.
All right, who do you sell it to?
We sell residential and wholesale. We're probably 70% wholesale, 30% residential. Our mornings are usually packed up with from about 6:30 is when we start till 10, 11 o'clock, usually packed up with most of our wholesale sales, right? We're cutting big rolls for that. Those are reserved for larger projects, whole houses, an entire residence yard. We sell it by the semi-load, we sell it by the roll, however people want it. But that our wholesale sod is our big rolls, and what those are, they basically look like big rolls of toilet paper. I don't know if you wanted to
let's take a
show
look.
them a clip at what I'm talking about there with the big rolls.
So let's walk over to it so we can get a close-up look.
Yeah. So our big rolls are, like I said, they look like a roll of toilet paper. They roll out like a roll of toilet paper. There's 315 square feet per roll. They're stacked up in a triangle right now, but you can see each individual roll. There's 3 in that triangle. 315 square feet, 35 square yards per roll. Takes a machine to install it, to roll it out. They're roughly 900, 1,000, 1,200 pounds, depending on the moisture in the ground, is the weight of them. Like I said, a full semi-load is about 1,200 square yards, roughly 11,000 square feet in that range. That will generally do in the Quad City area a average lot size in the Quad City area. We also sell residential. We call it pallet sod, slab sod, however you want to label it. Comes stacked up on a pallet. Each piece is 20 inches by 40 inches. Makes it a little bit more easily maneuverable to install. If you, let's say, took out a pool and you backfilled it, you took down a tree, and you need to cover up that dirt there with sod, whatever it may be. We sell to walk-in business customers all day, every day. So we have multiple ways to keep customers happy.
Great. I have another question. Do you do crop rotation?
We do. We rotate with soybeans. We'll do, I gotta think of our timing here. We'll do anything we harvest after seeding. We seed all of our fields in grass seed in the fall, around August 15th through September 15th, somewhere in that time frame. We pick out some good days. Mother Nature allows us, no rain, no wind, stuff like that, where we get grass seed down. After September 15th, anything we harvest from September 15th till Mother Nature shuts us down in the wintertime and the ground freezes, we get tilled up, and we're planting soybeans in it early spring. Our soybeans, they're advantageous to us for a couple reasons. One, soil retention, right? Having a little bit of a root system there rather than bare dirt, is going to save more on water runoff. It's going to save on losing soil from wind erosion, stuff like that. So that little bit of a base there helps with that. Soybeans add a little bit of nitrogen back into the ground, which is great for sod. And on top of that, it saves on summer tilling. We don't have to, if that ground were to be bare dirt until from after September 15th of year one to we seed again in August 15th of year two, we're spending all summer long gas, labor, time to tear up that field and keep the weeds down, stuff like that. So it serves a multitude of reasons, for putting soybeans back in the ground.
Great. We have another question. How soon does it take, or how soon does it have to be installed after being harvested?
So that is timing throughout the year. Spring and fall, when we're in that 50, 60, 70 degree weather, we can harvest it and let it sit for a day. In the 50 degree weather, it can sit for 2-3 days and be okay. 70 degree weather is where you got to start being careful with it. You don't want to let it sit longer than 24 hours before putting it down, installing it, and getting it watered in. This time of the year, when we're seeing 90, 95 degree weather, I think next week's supposed to be pretty nice for us, but that's going to be an anomaly. This time of the year, you want to harvest it, get it to the job site, get it down as soon as possible, and start getting water on it.
Do you take it to the job site?
We do. We allow customers to come out, pick it up out in the field. We also we're running 3 of our own semis, and we're servicing anywhere from our base here to within about 150 mile radius. Depending on the time of the year, spring and fall when it's a little cooler, if we get a job, let's say out in Omaha, we've been out there, down in northern Missouri, we've been there, we'll go farther than that 150 mile radius, but in general, we don't want that sod sitting on our trucks longer than they have to.
All right, so we have our rolls of sod here. How deep do you have to cut the sod from the ground?
So if you can see, it looks like our cut is about an inch and a half sometimes. It's a little deceiving. We are Kentucky bluegrass roots. They grow out rather than down, which is a huge benefit in tensile strength of the root and holding the sod together. But the other thing with that is it creates density, right? So while it looks like an inch and a half of soil that we're pulling off our fields every time we harvest, we're really only pulling off roughly a 1/4 inch, give or take, slightly, but it's about a 1/4 inch, and the rest of that is all root density.
So then what do you do to keep your soil healthy?
We're obviously soil is huge in any farming operation. Our attempts at creating good soil health and replenishing topsoil we add a ton of humic acids, fulvic acids. That helps with like kind of our CEC, cash and exchange capacity. That is, how well and how easily, I'm trying to think of how I can explain this in layman's terms. CEC is how well the soils are able to take a nutrient such as, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, and convert it from that to good, useful nutrients for the soil, right? So the humics and fulvic acids that we spray or that we apply really increases our CEC. We're obviously putting some nitrogen down, some potash and phosphorus, which are great for the grass. The phosphorus, potash is great for soils. We're adding sulfur at different times of the year, lime at different times of the year, all to maintain good soil health.
Interesting. Have you had any challenges this year with lack of rain?
Not so much this year. This year's been pretty good. Fortunately, in years past we have. Let's make a long story short. Fortunately, this time of the year we're moving into our irrigated fields anyways. So when we go 10 days, 14 days, sometimes it's a month with no rain, we can push irrigation on it, keep moisture in the ground. The worst thing we can do is cut dry brown sod. Nobody wants that. We don't want that. We don't want complaints. We have to push out a high quality product at all times. So this year has been pretty good. We've been getting timely rains. Last year was ideal. I think that might have been the best year we've ever had as far as just timely rains. It seemed like we were getting a good rain. A good rain being 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch weekly, if not every 10 days. So it was great. We ran our irrigation systems very minimally last year, which was nice. But no, this year's been great. We've had years in the past. The opposite end of that spectrum is getting too much rain. If I remember right, there was 2 years ago. In our area specifically, I think it was pretty much statewide, but I know for sure our area, the entire month of May, I think we worked like 2 days the entire month of May. Because when we get too much rain, fields get flooded out. Our harvesters can't get in the ground, and blades will get gunked up. It doesn't make for a good product. We can't cut sod. 2 years ago when we got all that rain and we were getting rain on a every other day basis, this field ended up being a product of that, and we ended up washing out some of the field. While this patch of grass right here, as you can see, it's already been harvested on both sides of it. This patch of grass is a little bit holy. If you were to be out here standing on top of it, you'll see some holes in it. It's just a product of water sitting in that area. There's little waterways that are not created by us. They weren't man-made waterways, but we got so much rain and the water would be flowing so quick down this field that it just, kind of created a little rut there. Frustrating. Fortunately, it's in a small enough area that we can just jump it as we're harvesting, and there's plenty of good thick grass, that didn't get washed out. But this, sometimes there is fields there where, you just get too much stinking rain and it washes seed out and creates a problem.
How many irrigation systems do you run, and how often during a day?
So we have 3 irrigation systems. I forget how long they are. I think they're roughly a 1/4 mile long. Each one. Each one can cover 135 acres. Timing depends. Our production field every Saturday this time of the year, such as tomorrow, I'm going to be running our production field irrigation system. I'll put it down at a 1/2 inch. We don't work Sundays, so I'll start it at about noon, 12:15 tomorrow. I'll put it down at a pretty heavy rate at a 1/2 inch. It'll take, and this only has to span, half this field. It doesn't have to make a full circle. We're running center pivot irrigation. So you got one mother tower in the center. Irrigation stems out on the side of it and just makes a circle around that mother tower. So since we've already harvested half this field, we only have to run it on one half. It'll take roughly 30 hours to make a 180-degree rotation, a half circle at a 1/2 inch. I'll run it Saturday at a 1/2 inch on our production field. That'll maintain moisture through Monday and Tuesday. I'll probably run it again at roughly a 1/4 inch, a light 1/4 inch on Wednesday. And if needed, depending on how hot it is and how things dry, how quickly things dry out, I may or may not hit it again on a Friday, just to keep moisture in the ground, keep that grass growing. keep in mind, Kentucky bluegrass, this doesn't, speak for all grasses, but Kentucky bluegrass, to really be thriving and really be a healthy grass, really needs 3/4 of an inch to an inch of water a week. Now, the other nice thing about Kentucky bluegrass, if you don't water it, established grass, let's put it this way, not new grass, you have to water new grass. Established grass, if you don't water Kentucky bluegrass, it will go brown, it will look bad, but Kentucky bluegrass is extremely, extremely resilient. It will bounce back, take some time, bounce back in a couple weeks, but once the weather turns and we start getting a little bit more wet season in the fall, it'll bounce back and it'll be as thick as you've ever seen. That's the nice thing about Kentucky bluegrass. The self-repairing qualities of Kentucky bluegrass is great. We service a lot of golf courses, locally and up in Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area, and over in Illinois. You'll see a lot of our grass on fairways of golf courses, this, that, and the other, roughs of golf courses. You won't ever see Kentucky bluegrass on a tee box or a green. Same difference though. There's Bermuda grass and bent grass, self-repairing technologies. Somebody takes out a big divot on a golf course, and you'll see somebody put some sand down, a little bit of seed, and you got grass next week. Ours isn't quite as quick as that. Kentucky bluegrass doesn't, react that quickly like Bermuda and bent grass does, but Kentucky bluegrass, over the course of a couple weeks, the roots that grow out instead of down, the roots grow out and it will shoot up new grass stems. So it does have some really good qualities from that standpoint.
Can we see how you harvest the sod?
Yeah, most definitely. We'll get these guys over here, and we can walk down to them and have them drop in the ground. This is going to be our big roll harvest. Pretty swift, easy process. We can usually cut a semi-load of these big rolls, which is a full semi-load would be like 36 big rolls. And like I said previously, excuse me, that's about an average lot size in the Quad Cities. We can cut a semi-load of big rolls in about 45 minutes. So we can really push a bunch of semi-loads out. In the spring and the fall of the year, we're probably pushing anywhere from 10 to 12 semi-loads in a day of big rolls, while also cutting pallet sod for our retail business. This time of the year, it tends to slow down. Nobody wants to do anything in the hot, hot part of the day when it's 95 degrees. So we're getting maybe 5-6 out in the morning from 6:30 till about noon, and then it really dies off after that. So
what type of machinery do you use here?
So we're obviously running all John Deeres. We love the John Deere, the green and yellow. We are our big roll manufacturers are Magnum E&P. They're out of Kansas. They're the biggest manufacturers of turf harvesting industry in the world. It's quite the process. They work great. A lot of, if we have any replacement parts we got to put on it, it's all kind of plug and play stuff. It's a pretty swift process. Why don't we go ahead and cut like one or two? Yep. We can cut roughly a roll every 30 seconds. There is some automated technology out now to where our operator doesn't ever have to get off the basket and do any of that. The stapling, the dropping, stuff like that. But you're saving yourself maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It's costly to put that on for the amount of time that you're really spending doing that.
cut the roll, how fast do you have to get it to the customer?
So these will go out, those rolls sitting there. We just cut them, the majority of those we cut about 10 minutes ago. We'll have a truck back here in the field. He had to make a run to Coal Valley real quick and deliver the first half of that load. We'll want those down by 1, 2 o'clock here this afternoon. Any longer than that, they'll start to heat up and rot from the inside out, and which causes problems for everybody. So.
How much does a bale weigh?
So those are weighing, each one of those are weighing roughly, depending on moisture in the ground, 8,000 to 9,000 pounds. Somewhere in that range. Right now we're fairly dry. I'd say they're probably pushing 1,000 pounds. Or I'm sorry, they're probably pushing 900 pounds. We got a little touch of rain last night, enough to knock the dust off everything. But so there's some moisture in the ground, but not a whole lot. Our pallets, there's about 50 square yards on a pallet. Let me rephrase. There's about 315 square feet, 35 square yards on a big roll. 50 square yards, 450 square feet on a pallet. Our pallets are obviously more square footage on there. They're gonna weigh a little heavier. Those are pushing about 1,200 pounds at any given time. We're loading those into the back of F-150s, on the back of trailers every single day. So.
Can you put them in a storage shed to help with temperature control?
We can. We do that quite frequently. This time of the year, we don't like to do that. I mean, hot is hot. So we run into issues with that. We generally leave it up to the customer to, when it gets this hot, to decide, hey, do you want this or not? It's your money. We caution against it pretty heavily. But at the end of the day, if the customer wants it put in the barn, we'll put it in the barn. What's really fun is in the wintertime, as we get close to shutting down for the year, which is roughly Thanksgiving. That's kind of our general rule of thumb. But last year was pretty mild all the way up really through Christmas. I think we were cutting sod on December 22nd last year, which was nice. We'll cut sod up until the ground freezes. What's really nice about that time of the year is you can actually lay sod out. You'll have to thaw it out. Somebody has to bring it into a heated barn. But you can lay sod, we'll let it freeze. We'll cut it, put it in the barn, let it freeze. And every once in a while, somebody will call us up and they'll want, a couple semi-loads delivered, wherever they need it. And we'll put it in the heated barn overnight, thaw it out, and they'll lay it out the next day on frozen ground. The nice thing about that is, once the sod freezes and once it gets cold enough for the ground to freeze, and we have sod stored in the barn, that can last upwards of a month. Frozen sod is not going to go bad on you. So it's kind of a fun process in the wintertime. It gives us something to do. On days that we normally wouldn't be doing anything. And what's nice about that is when you lay it on frozen ground, you get some snow on top of it. You're getting that instant snow melt, that instant moisture in the springtime. It's going to root down just like your grass would in the spring and the fall of the year. You're going to have instant moisture, a little bit of added nitrogen from the snow over the winter. Once everything thaws out in the spring.
So then, once the sod is laid, how often does the customer have to water it?
That can be a frustrating topic with homeowners. Contractors are usually pretty good about it. They do it on a day in, day out basis. But homeowners, do need some instruction sometimes. Depending on the time of the year, spring and fall, when it's cooler, 50, 60, 70s, they can water it less than this time of the year, right? You can get a really good soak on it a couple times a day in the spring and the fall, and that water will retain in there from day to day. When it's 90 degrees out, you almost have to have sprinklers running 24/7, because the second that water's hitting that dirt, it's getting soaked up and it's getting or evaporating off. So yeah, I mean it's all kind of timing of the year when you put it down. We really push watering. We always kind of jokingly say you can't water new sod enough. You can, but you want to water it to the point of pooling on top of the sod without pooling. You want it that wet, but you don't want to actually see the water on top of the sod. Otherwise, you're going to bake it. But you'll do that. You'll keep it wet for roughly 8 to 10 days till you can start to feel it kind of root down, and you can pull up against it and it pulls back against you. That's when you know it's rooting, and you can kind of mow it after that point. You can back off on watering and kind of water on an as needed basis at that time. But this time of the year is kind of avoidable not to see, or it's kind of unavoidable not to see some browning of sod. I mean, you're going to see it at some point when it's 95 degrees. Your hope is just to keep pushing water.
So after we harvested this sod, when do you start to like seed for your fields?
So we'll start seeding August 15th through September 15th. We'll tear. I don't know if you can get we have, this whole field is a 150 acre field. We got roughly 60 left, but everything that's brown back there, we sprayed Roundup on. It was harvested earlier this spring. We sprayed Roundup on it just to knock all the weeds down. We'll start tearing that up probably next week, and then we'll get it down to kind of a fine dust, and get it ready for planting starting August 15th, somewhere in that range.
Do you have to worry about weeds or pests?
We do. Pests, not so much. The sod is generally not on the ground long enough to really develop any pest issues. The second it's off, virtually the second it's off, we're tilling it under and working it back up. Weeds we do have to treat for. I'm not gonna sit here and have any illusions that we are an organic farm. We're not. We do treat with herbicides. We've got it down to a pretty good science now. We spray a pre-emergent for crabgrass and other weeds in the spring. That usually knocks virtually everything we would have popping up or that's currently up. We'll usually get that down roughly middle of May, end of April, middle of May, somewhere in that time frame. And that will hold off virtually anything through this time frame. I mean, I'd say middle of June to end of July, and then we'll have to treat again. The biggest issue, like everybody else, is dandelions, clover, stuff like that. We don't have, once again, sod's not on the ground long enough, and we have pretty good soils, that we generally don't have any disease issues. Summer patch is a soil issue, but any grass diseases like a red rust, which you might see a lot of homeowners get it in when they're watering their grass. You'll walk out in the yard someday on a humid day, and you'll kind of see some red dust on your shoes, right? That's red rust. Generally doesn't cause an issue, and doesn't need to be treated for unless it becomes really bad. Every once in a while, if we've gotten a bunch of rain and it turns hot and humid, we'll get some powdery mildew. It's kind of a white dust on the grass. Once again, doesn't cause any issues. We don't ever have to treat for it. We'll see some grubs out here every once in a while, but grubs are naturally occurring. They're can be good for your soil. It's when we get, which we've never had, but when you start getting 50 to 75 grubs in a square foot, that's when you start having an issue. Your roots are just going to junk at that point, and it's really not harvestable, and not good for your grass. You'll see your grass start to die out from underneath. Otherwise, we might see a grub 5 every square foot. They're fine. They're naturally occurring. They cause 0 issues, and so we never have to treat for them. So it's really just treating for weeds.
When you have your sod, how many times do you have to mow it?
We're mowed, once again, timing of the year. Spring and fall, we're fertilizing quite a bit. With that fertilizer, the phosphorus and potash are really going to be, we're putting NPK down, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. The phosphorus, potash are really going to shoot roots out and be really beneficial for the roots as well as soil health. The nitrogen in the form of urea that we're putting down is really good for top growth and color, right? Keeping that nice dark green color in your grass. The nitrogen can become an issue in the springtime and the fall if we it just did this spring. We loaded up our fields with some nitrogen. Soil temps were low. I'm trying to think of the conditions. Soil temps were low. We weren't seeing a ton of growth because of those soil temps being low, so we decided to push the growth with the nitrogen. Got some rain on it, got a bunch of rain. I think we had about, a week of rain or something like that in there late May. And all of a sudden the soil temps heated right up when it turned warmer. and we were dealing with mowing issues because we had 8-inch tall grass, which can be a frustration, right? So when that happens, we're sending mowers out every single day. We got 2 mowers. One's a 20-footer and one's a 24-footer. We can cover 100 acres in a day pretty easily. So those mowers were going full bolt, cutting it down to about, I had one mower set at 4 inches, the other set at 2 3/4 inches. We had those mowers running every single day, 10 hours a day, for about a week and a half straight. Just trying to knock the grass down and then spreading clippings out so it doesn't just sit there in one spot and kill out the grass. But on normal conditions in the springtime, we want to cover the entire farm twice in a week. Usually we do that between Monday and Tuesday, whole farm's covered, and then we'll have them come back again, between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and cover the entire farm again. Keeps everything at a nice consistent height. Mowing also helps with root growth, spread roots, helps with growth stages, especially on new seeding. It'll really help kind of push growth there, which is kind of a strange phenomenon that a lot of people have no clue about, with mowing. It does help with your growth. We never bag clippings. We're big time against bagging clippings. There's some weird stats out there, and I'm gonna probably butcher it, but if anybody that bags their clippings, you can actually save a fertilizer application, assuming you're spreading fertilizer 4 times a year, putting nitrogen down 4 times a year. If you never bag your clippings and you mow on a weekly basis and leave your clippings on the ground, that will actually decompose and add 1 full fertilizer application worth of nitrogen back into the ground. So little fun stat. During the summer, we're probably mowing, we might cover the whole farm once a week. Growth tends to slow. There's not as much need for it. We'll definitely hit our production field and keep that at a consistent height. Our harvest height changes throughout the year too. During the spring and the fall of the year, we'll cut it at, we'll harvest sod at about 2.5 inches high. We'll keep it mowed there. During the hot part of the summer, we'll do it about 2 3/4. Helps to hide some possible color issues, whatever. It just keeps it a nicer, greener look. And that's pretty universal for any sod farm in the country. So
we have another question. So once your fields are harvested, they will stay bare till planting August, September?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. And then we have another one. How level does a new yard have to be to lay sod?
Personal preference. Obviously, we've run into some jobs where somebody puts a grade on it and, there'll still be 2-3 inch clods of dirt. Those clods aren't going anywhere. Or there's gravel. Somebody poured a foundation, they just built a new house, and they just, all the excess concrete and stuff like that, they just kind of broke up and mixed it in with the dirt. Gravel doesn't go anywhere, right? Through the frost heave, might not be the following year, but it might take a couple years, but through the frost heave, throughout the winter times, eventually those little pebbles of gravel are going to work their way up to the top of the sod. The 2 to 3 inch clods that might be left on a graded job site don't go anywhere either. Makes it harder for those Kentucky bluegrass roots to grow through and attach to, because generally if you got a 2-3 inch clod, that's hard soil, right? So you might have you might have a little dead area there because those roots just couldn't attach to anything. So yeah, ideally we're laying on basically kind of like a fine dust in an ideal world. But yeah, it doesn't always work out that way, and unfortunately we have no control over that until the sod gets to the job site and we see what we're working with. Most of the guys around here in the Quad Cities are awesome at grading it up and making it perfect for us. But you do run into an issue every once in a while.
All right, we'll have 2 final questions.
Sure.
What is your education?
I was a business administration degree from University of Dubuque, but grew up out here my entire life. There were some talks about going, for an agronomist degree. My parents kind of pushed me against that. They thought the business end of things would be probably more beneficial. Between the people we know, the just learned education of growing up out here, I was able to piece together, enough information to still have a fully functioning turf farm. I could see where, I've taken some continuing education classes in the past on turf grass management, this, that, and the other, just to kind of brush up on things. But yeah, I mean, with the Midwest, people are generally just good people. And so with the references that we have, that my dad and uncle and grandfather have built throughout the years, there's plenty of agronomists we can go to, chat with, ask questions, and kind of lead us in the right direction if I don't know the answer.
All right, and our last question is, what is your favorite part about your sod business?
So really has nothing to do with the sod itself. This was a family business. My dad, like I said, I think it was my grandfather, my dad, then my uncle was in it. My cousin's been in it. Myself, my sister is our office secretary. That's what makes it fun for me, is the kind of family atmosphere that we have. All of our not all of them. We have a good core group of 4 employees. I should preface by saying when we're in season, we employ 16 employees. That's truck drivers, mowers, field laborers, our forklift driver, mechanic, myself, and Jill, our secretary. Our good core group of field laborers have been with us for the last 18 years. Some of them have been with us 5-6 years, but we have a good core group of 4 or 5 guys that have been with us for 18 plus years. We try to keep that family atmosphere. We treat them like family. We're going to their graduation parties. Their kids are coming out here, and we know them all by name. We get to joke around and play with them. That's the fun part to me, is kind of seeing that growth throughout the years. It's great to grow the business and great to have a thriving farm. But I'm a very relational person, and that's the entire aspect of the sod farming for me, is dealing with customers, really fostering those friendships and those relationships. And some of our customers are some of my best friends now. So it's that family atmosphere of things is what's really fun.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Keaton. And it was so fun to talk to you today and visit Seven Cities Sod. We'll chat next time.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.